Hey everyone, it's Kim Beegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, and I'm out here with the sheepies because it's been a while. We just moved them up to this top pasture next to our house, so I'll turn around and let you see them. But I talk a lot about wool. If you're new, owning a wool mill, having sheep, spinning yarn, knitting, all the things, sewing, embroidery, whatever you want to cover, we cover it. Sourdough. Okay, if you're coming back, yay! Let's see the sheep. All right, first there's Else, the Shetlands. I'm trying to see where Miss Dolly is. She got squished today. I think she's over here. She's one of our smallest girls. So right in front here is one of our East Frisian BFL crosses. And Miss Dolly is the third one from, well, never mind. Hi, ma'am. She's like, why are you here? So we just moved him up. You can see our one BFL, the dark one there that has the tail, which is all full and it looks so funny. Will you come and say hi? This girl usually will say hi. Hey, Gorge. She's got a bit of, she's one of our old girls. She's got a bit of a limp that she's on meds for these days to keep her comfy. Let's go see if anybody else will actually stop to say hi. Hi, gorgeous. You want to say hi? This is Dahlia, for obvious reasons, given the amount of dahlias that I like to grow these days. Here comes one of the boys to say hi. Here's one of the boys and girls. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. Hello. So he's got a full fleece on. And, oh goodness. And he needs to be shorn. What are you doing? Hi, Gorge. So there you go. Thanks for coming up, bud. He's like, do you have anything for me? Do you have anything for me? All right, onward to the mill we shall go. Okay, from sheep to the washing machine. So here is the fleece I'm going to wash up today. This is one of our Shetlands, Dolly, and this is her, this would only be like a 6-month fleece. That's a short part of it. She's got really lovely fiber. And I did cold soak this. And this was her fleece that we shore in early March. And it's lovely. She's got a really, really nice, she's got a nice luster to her. So I'm gonna go ahead, sorry, I'm back here putting on gloves because, not because like the dirt of it grosses me out or anything, because that's just normal, but because it leaves, after you cold soak wool and then you like run it through your hands, it leaves this weird like dry feeling lanolin on your hands that, or I don't know, but when I go to wash my hands, it's a very unsettling. You know, we all have things. And for some reason, I just don't like the feeling of like how the wet wool and lanolin collect on my hands. So what I am doing here is just, so this has been cold soaked just overnight because they do get some nice kind of crusty, muddy tips, dirty, more than muddy, this fleece was, tips. So I cold soaked it overnight so that we could get rid of that, or at least loosen it up, which it did significantly. I'll show you kind of some tips there. And there's a little bit of dirt, but it's so much better than what it was. It was very, very crusty. And like I do with everybody, I'm just, I don't know if that's, I just kind of estimate how much is going in each compartment just to make the machine, let the machine run. Make sure you all are in view here. Let the machine run balanced, you know, just like our home washing machines and stuff. You try to balance it out so that it doesn't try to walk across the back of the mill, which it does anyway when it does a big flip. So I'm just opening up the fleece like I do with all of them. Obviously with the Shetland, it's not like if I was, when I'm washing some of the finer wools, you know, they wash up pretty easily. So I'm just doing a basic open here, wringing out the water. The dirty, dirty water, because there's no sense in adding dirty water to the wash tub right before. And I'll let you see how dirty this is. And Dolly has, like a lot of my Shetlands, she's fairly white, but she actually has a decent amount of gray in her fleece. They kind of all have varying levels. Not all. We have three all white ones, 4 all white, 2 darker, really dark ones. And then the rest of them are all a variation of white with gray in their fleece. So, and she's got a good amount of gray in her fleece. So it'll be a lovely yarn. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I have ever knit anything out of Dolly before. I don't think I have. Hopefully I'll have started this video. I'm trying to think ahead and haven't filmed the beginning of it yet, but I'm hoping to film the beginning of it at the farm so you can catch a glimpse of Miss Dolly in all her glory. So we've got the wool in. Now I just basically hit a button, let the machine fill up with water. It'll add the soap to it and we'll be off and running. And I'll show you this water. Ooh, that's some dirt. So that's great. That was a whole bucket of that at home that I left behind that I just dumped onto the ground to irrigate with. So wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna get this started and I'll let you peek back at it in a little bit. Get close up so you can see a little better. Okay, you all, it's beeping at me. The machine is telling me it's time to push down the wool for the first time. So I thought I'd bring you along. And you can see it's kind of floating on the top a little bit. So all I do is use this fancy tool called a kitchen spoon that got passed down to me from the last person that owned this equipment. And it's getting its fair use. So I'm just doing a little toss and you'll see I am moving the wool while it's in hot water, but gently. And now everything's pushed down, so we'll put the lid down and it'll continue on its cleaning merry way. And I wanted to take you over to see if we can get through everything. This fleece that I washed up yesterday or the day before. And this is of Romney fleece and it's really lovely. I don't know why I was so excited. It's weird that after so many years of doing this, I still get excited to see wool when it's all washed up. But here this fleece is. It's just a really lovely gray color and a pretty, that's not a good example, but shorter staple length, probably 2 to 3 inches roughly on it. Here's kind of a more standard, but look how pretty that is. So this is gonna be, and it has a nice handle to it. I'll probably blend this up into some Halsey. So I'll blend some Romney, we've got it, alpaca and silk to make that signature Halsey blend that I make. I think this will be a nice combo and I've got some nice alpaca to go with it. So that will be coming up here pretty soon because I think this fleece that we're going to pick is going to be the last white fleece for this round of doing white. And I've got about 54% humidity in here. Actually, I'm gonna turn the light off behind us. I've got about 54% humidity in here, which is beautiful. We got a nice little rain last night. So we are going to pick out this, what is it, Corriedale and Romney? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't know why I'm forgetting. I'm pretty sure this is Corriedale and Romney that I got at Black Sheep. This is the fleece. I think last week I was washing it up in last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, depending on when this goes out. Really stunning fleece. I have the lights off, as we know, to keep the humidity down. But I was like, if I can get this through the picker, then I'm gonna be a happy camper. It's a little bit of a longer staple, so I wanted to make sure, very similar to that Corriedale I did just a couple weeks ago, that I just kind of had to slowly pick through with the, when the temperatures would allow for it. The Romney, I did just pick out a white, just all Romney fleece, very similar to the one I just showed you, that gray one, and it didn't need the same level of humidity. It picked out really well. Not that I was picking at super low humidity, but I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of help open this up a bit, just so that those long locks don't get too caught up in my picker. And then I'll let the picker do the rest of it. But it just helps less get caught up on the intake, or not the intake, but those teeth, those big fat teeth that are in there. And the less that gets caught up in there, the better off we are. But this is a nice sturdy wool, so I'm not too worried about it breaking. I just don't want to lose a lot of it, right? So let's see it going in. Lower you guys down. You can see it going in, and those teeth at work in there. I think you can kind of see them. I'll pop down the other end and let you see what it looks like coming out. I will see what it looks like coming out. We're not getting static, which is great. And I will be keeping an eye to make sure it doesn't start to get caught up in the rollers anywhere inside the picker, but so far so good. Okay, it's time to pull some out, and I'm probably gonna let the machine sit for a little bit so I don't get static building up, but it's pretty chill. It looks pretty chill in here. And we got a little static building up in the back, so I'll empty this batch out and do some conditioning, set it aside, and let the machine rest and let that static slow down a little bit, quiet down inside the picker, and then we'll get back to it. And I'm gonna show you, and I do have, I'll point it out again, but for conditioning fiber at home on my blog, I do have a home recipe that you can use if you are running into issues with static. And it's on my blog. There's a link in the show notes always. So let me know if for some reason it doesn't work, but there we are, all picked out. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'll condition this. I like to leave it overnight at least so that the conditioner can absorb in. When I would do it at home, a lot of times when I was combing especially, I would just spray as I was combing, just to kind of a light spray of that recipe on it. So, and it really can make a difference. So there you go. Okay, onward we shall go. Okay, we are at the carder. I'm about to turn it on. We're at the roving deck, and I actually started this last week because the weather was sort of permitting. And this is the Corriedale Romney. So it's Corriedale and Romney cross that I got at Black Sheep Gathering. And I had to rethread it because at the end of the day, I was kind of pushing the parameters. At the end of the day, the machine picked up a giant chunk. And so I kind of had to clean it out. And that happens occasionally. Basically, like if the machine caught that whole chunk that's on the feed right now, it's too much. It's too much. And so then everything gets a little gunked up. So I took that as my cue to stop. Whoops, sorry you all. I gotta tighten some stuff here on my tripod. Okay, I gotta get this on because we're towards the end. So you can see how gorgeous this is. I did spin a little bit of it because it's me and I have to. But it's got such a really nice handle, and it's got a little bit of luster, not a ton of luster to it, I would say, but enough. It's really nice. Really nice wool, and I was excited. It's only 50% humidity right now, but I really conditioned this hard last week. And actually when I first started this, I picked it, conditioned it, and then left it for like half an hour and then started picking right away to get the best results. It dried quickly and I just wanted to not have any static. So here we are. I haven't had that happen where it just took a big chunk in quite a while. It's also one of the reasons that I don't work right up on the machine because I don't want to be holding that fiber when it grabs it from me. So here we are. I mean, for all the people who think that white fiber is boring, I'm telling you, you haven't been spinning the right processed fiber because this is pretty epic. And I've been doing so much white, and I could spin all of it all day because it just has so much character still. I'm gonna open up the carder so you can kind of see it trudging through here. And then we'll go back and check in on the other side, make sure it's still behaving, which it is. Hurrah! Let me put you down so you can see here. is. Gorgeous. I'll take some of this and we can spin a little bit of it up. And there it is. All right, that's our only thing on the Carter this week because I had a finite window and that window is up because we're supposed to get back into the 90s. And too hot, too dry. Okay. Oops, sorry you all, I'm making a mess of the video. All right, everyone, we are at my Matchcraft Rose and I brought home a little of that Corriedale Romney to spin. And I set up my wheel. Let me make some adjustments here. I set up my wheel with the drive band in the center there so that, because this is a longer staple length, I didn't want it to be overspun, so I just, ooh, there's a lot of tension on here. What the heck was I spinning last? Something I apparently wanted to be thick. So here we are, and I am not quite positive which is the end that I want to be spinning from. Because it's good, it reminds me to mention it to you all every time, right? That if you're spinning from something, let's try the other end. I like to always try both ends. Unless it's just like perfect, then, but sometimes it can even be more perfect on the other side. So I'm spinning this long draw and probably holding too tight given that this is a nice long staple. It's spinning up beautifully. And if you're spinning up a staple length that is longer and you're doing it long draw, well, if you're doing it short forward, you have to be mindful too, but you really have to be mindful not to have your hand clasping too hard, which in long draw, you really shouldn't be holding too hard. I think this side is a little bit catchy. And I'm also kind of, I don't know why, because I'm fighting a little bit with the fact that I have the uptake. Let's lower the uptake a little bit. That'll make it easier for me. I'm trying to spin my default yarn, but I have the uptake set differently. So then I'm just fighting with it. Okay. So it is spinning nice and lovely. As I was saying, if the staple length's really long, you got to make sure that backhand especially is nice and light. And if you're spinning short forward, you need both hands, right? Because otherwise what will happen is you'll get stuck. Like, look, I can't move the fiber anymore because I'm pulling so hard. And the beginning and the end of that staple length is between those two fingers. And I'm holding on to them. So make sure you practice nice and light. And I think I spun a sample of this, but I left it at the mill and I am at home right now. So lovely, lovely stuff. Shall I just keep spinning and I'll soapbox for you? It's a very short soapbox because it's summer and my energy, I'm trying to, give a little bit of extra space for some positive energy in there, right? Been spending lots of time in the garden. I should say that next week's video probably will be a little bit different because we have warm weather coming up. And so I think what I'm going to do is just catch up on some of the things I've been working on and show off some of those things, and as well as do some videos on, I am dyeing up my first sweater quantity of yarn. I've never dyed sweater quantities before. So I thought I'd take you along for that ride a little bit because it is a little more like, you don't really want to mess it up when you've spun an entire sweater quantity. So anyway, maybe we'll take a little trip around the farm and things like that. Okay, soapbox for this week. I'm going to spin through all this fiber. I better actually move. Ooh, I'll show you all this yarn in a minute. My soapbox is kind of in response, but also maybe saying something positive and maybe someplace that you want to go visit. But I was reading up on the most recent stupid thing that Trump has said, and it was about basically starting to attack museums for being too woke. Like, this is the last place in the country that we have all this wokeness. And part of that was saying that the Smithsonian museums in specifically were just too woke and that they spent too much attention highlighting how bad slavery was, among other things. And I just thought, So we've come to this, right? We're just going to try to brush all of this under the carpet and change our history. And the reality is you can't change it, right? There's no going back on that. And it should never be forgotten. There should always be stories told, shared, educated on how this country was founded, right? And that's not to say that it's not a wonderful country, but to deny the history, well, you just can't. You can't. It will always be there regardless. So it really got me to thinking just about the Smithsonian museums, because I grew up in the DC area. I grew up in Maryland, and one of the things that we did quite often was go to the Smithsonian museums. And because of that, I am forever ruined on museums. If you have not been to the Smithsonian museums in DC, put it on your list, because not only are they big, amazing, and just full of, there's several of them, they're full of just such wonderful historical everything, just everything. You know, there's something for everybody, I think, from the art to just everything. And they're free, you all. They're free! So you kind of get ruined if you grow up in that environment. The Air and Space Museum, I'm pretty sure, Dad, if you're watching, I have that museum memorized from going there so much, because that's one of my dad's favorites. One of my favorite memories of going down there. So anyway, it just kind of got to me, not only the attack on this country's history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but also on attacking some of these institutions that are just so important to so many of us. So do as we do, right? Keep fighting the good fight, keep speaking up. The history of our country needs to be shared, just like all histories, right? So anyway, there's the soapbox for today. Okay, shall I stop and show you what this yarn looks like? Because it's pretty epic. And also, I would love to hear from you all. If you've been to the Smithsonian museums, I should put it out there. Oh, and I have one other thing I was going to say, and I'll switch real quick. We'll look at this, and then let me do a good twist on this. I'm going to put some extra twist in before I do a plyback. So let me, because otherwise it just looks underspun always when I do a plyback. Whoo-wee. I'm going to put a knot in this so we can see. It doesn't kind of unravel itself, and then we can take a closer look at it. The color alone is so beautiful, just that natural crisp white on it. It's going to be a really lovely yarn, and this is that Corriedale Romney Cross, case I forgot to say it. Okay, I'm going to switch to say goodbye. First, I thought I'd let you take a peek outside. There's no animals in sight. But this is the view on a summer day out my sewing room window. Okay, hi everyone, it's me. Okay, before I forget, shop update is coming to the website very soon. So if you're not on my newsletter yet, you can head to my website, youthfulfiberfarm.com. There's a link in the show notes. Get on the newsletter, because I will put an email out saying there's been a small shop update. So pay attention for that if you would like to, of course. And you can always join the Youthful Patreon community. We've got social Zooms. You get first dibs on the fiber. So I did an update for them recently, and so this is some of the leftover, and some of it already sold out. So that's the way, if you're falling in love with something or you want to try something specifically, that's the best way to get access to that. Plus there's lots of fun, and it supports what I do here on YouTube. I did want to answer a question. There is a Google form that you can, this is on the audio podcast, but I'm going to remember to put this up on the audio podcast. But for people that just listen, I have a Google form that they can go in and ask questions, because audio podcasts, it's weird to get in touch with the creator. Anyway, somebody asked if I have ever plied together a worsted and a woolen, like singles together. And I have, but I can tell you that I didn't use the yarn myself. That's basically like when I get, it's the equivalent of mill-ends, right? When you get bobbins that have a fair amount of yarn on them, you didn't really use the last of it, but I'll let you know what I do nowadays, where I used to just have ends on the bobbin, right? You have a certain amount that's left over on one. And I used to kind of do a mill ends thing where I would start to just ply everything together to make up, just so I could get something out of that yarn. So I have indeed, probably without really knowing, plied together worsted and woolen. Whoever asked this, I don't think it tells me who asked it. Maybe it does, but I would love to hear if you have done that, and if so, how the yarn turned out. Yeah. So I have, but I haven't used it. What I do now, which I don't know why I didn't do this a lot earlier, rather than just doing that with the yarn, I tend to rewind. So if I have one bobbin that has a bunch of yarn left and the other one's empty, I will rewind half of that. In theory, you're kind of eyeballing. I will rewind half of that onto the other bobbin and then ply the rest of it up. Does that make sense? So I had a bunch on one, an empty one. I'll put half of the one onto the empty one and then ply the rest of it, because sometimes you can get quite a bit of extra yarn depending, right? And sometimes I have bought, like, here's a 4-ounce thing and here's a 4-ounce thing, and they're way off. And whether it's the weight of the fiber or it's just my spinning was all up and down in diameter, I don't know. But so there is the answer to that question. And I love questions, so feel free. And I wanted to show you one thing that I'm about to start on. I have washed the fabric. This is sewing. This is the fabric that I'm getting ready to make a skirt out of, and I haven't made a skirt yet, and I'm very excited. And so I got the pattern, I had it printed, got it, I traced it. So I use tracing paper over my patterns, because if you haven't had a PDF pattern done before, they're pretty big and they're like hefty thick pieces of paper, and rather than cut into that, and then if I change a size, or I want to do a different size, or I want to make one for somebody else, you've already cut into it and you'd have to tape everything back together to get different sizes. So instead, I get tracing paper, I trace the pattern out on the tracing paper in the size that I want at the moment, and then cut that and use that for, and I really like it. It's another step, but we're slow making. So anyway, and I got this fabric. This is dead stock fabric. I cannot remember who I got it from. But it's dead stock fabric. It's a linen cotton, and I don't know if there's up. I guess I'm gonna have to stare at it before I cut it. I don't know if there's really an up or a down, anyway, I'm so excited. And it will be past my knee. I am doing the gypsum skirt by So Liberated. So I'm excited to get this started, and the pattern's ready to go. I already washed my fabric. I'm going to iron my fabric and then start cutting, hopefully this afternoon. So we'll see. It's a pretty basic skirt, so hopefully I can get through that. Okay, I think that's all I've got today. So next week will be exciting. I'll do some updates because I have been making quite a bit of stuff. So I'm excited to share it with you all. And this is one of my me-mades, and it's perfect for summer. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, or got inspired to try something new, or maybe just got inspired to sit back down at your wheel or pull some wool out, or whatever it may be. Or maybe it has nothing to do with wool, but your creative spark has been again. So thank you all so much. I will be here next week with some updates of what I've been working on, maybe a little farm tour and things like that. So until next week, be kind to everybody around you. I know it can be challenging these days, but we in this community have empathy for all of those around us, and there is not a shortage of empathy, to be clear. Just because you have empathy for this person doesn't mean you have run out of empathy and you can't have empathy for the next person, or the next and the next and the next. You can have boundless amounts of empathy, and that is awesome. So share it. Stay healthy and make so many pretty things until I see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your comments, subscribing, joining Patreon, joining the newsletter, whatever it may be, or just watching. Do what you do. Okay, thank you so much.